There is a version of this story that ends when the fighting stops. This is not that story. This is what happens after the ceasefire, when the cameras leave and the real cost becomes impossible to ignore. Since October 2023, tens of thousands of Palestinians have been killed in Gaza. And independent researchers publishing in leading medical journals now believe official counts are a conservative flaw, not an overcount. Meaning, the real toll is almost certainly higher than reported. Among the wounded, tens of thousands of injuries are severe enough to need complex reconstructive surgery, even if surgical capacity were restored overnight. It would take roughly another decade to clear that backlog. Before the war, Gaza had only a handful of board-certified reconstructive surgeons for a population of over 2 million. Then, there is displacement, not evacuation, but repeated, cyclical displacement. More than 60% of the population has lost their homes, with nearly 2 million people displaced, often multiple times. Women and girls have been hit especially hard. Nearly 1 million have been displaced, many forced to move an average of 4 separate times. Not fleeing once and rebuilding, fleeing, resettling, fleeing again into shelters that aren't safe either. The healthcare system has effectively stopped functioning as a system. Just over half of hospitals are non-functional, and nearly every school has been damaged or destroyed. Hundreds of thousands of children have gone years without a classroom. That's not a disrupted school year. That's a generation growing up without formal education, layered on top of trauma most adults will never have to comprehend. Now, the price tag. Because someone has to pay to put this back together. International assessors working with the UN and World Bank calculated physical damage to Gaza's infrastructure alone at over $30 billion, with total economic losses pushing past $50 billion. The UN and EU have jointly warned that human development across Gaza has been set back by 77 years. Not months, not a decade, nearly 8 decades of progress erased. Rebuilding it all, clearing rubble, restoring water and power, reopening hospitals and schools, reviving a collapsed economy is projected to cost more than $70 billion. Most of it needed within the first few years. That funding isn't guaranteed. Billions have been pledged by governments worldwide, but officials say only a fraction has actually been transferred. And past reconstruction pledges after earlier wars in Gaza also went largely undelivered. Even the ceasefire hasn't meant peace in any complete sense. In the months since it was declared, hundreds more people have been reported killed and thousands more injured. The war may have officially paused. The dying, in smaller numbers, hasn't fully stopped. So when this story fades from the headlines, and it will, because every war eventually does, remember what actually happens next. So when the story fades from the headlines, and it will, because every war eventually does, remember what actually happens next. Not a clean rebuild, not a quick recovery, a population trying to raise children without schools, treat the wounded without hospitals, and rebuild homes without the money that was promised to them. The war ends on the news. For the people living inside its aftermath, it doesn't end at all. It just changes shape.